starting my my MATLAB, but I only have so far 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7. I'm thinking about waiting a bit more because after I start, I mean, of course, you can see the recording. I guess that will be the same with this one. Okay. So take a note that the project that I give, I cannot limit it to the first 6 weeks of the process modeling, because as you know, the process modeling consists of steady state law model, transient law model, steady state distributed model, and transient distributed model. So meaning that I cannot just limit and wait until I discuss that thing until you. Hi, good morning, Saif. How are you doing? I just saw you just now.
Good morning, sir. I'm doing good.
Morning, sir. Doing good. Good, huh? Okay. You start working with your group on the MATLAB already?
Yes.
Ah, yes. Okay. So meaning that the project that I distribute to you, it should be within the process modeling that I discuss. But not necessarily that all that I distribute the project is coming from the, let's say, the first 4 weeks. No, it's not. So for this group project, I expect you to work with your group, with your friends to look at your MATLAB code. The MATLAB code is already working. Definitely, it's working. But then you need to look at it and formulate, rederive everything, and then think which one does it belong to. Is it belonging to the first, to the steady state or transient law model, or steady state or transient distributed model? So that's the thing that you need to think. And then after that, then you need to go, if you think that your model, for example, go into the steady state distributed model that I have not discussed, then I have opened in the week 5 already, which is last week, on all the materials, so that you can access all those materials yourself even before the week has come, or even before you look at the lecture recording for that particular week. So this is why I'm doing it like this, is because next in the future, if you become a process engineer, you're supposed to be able to learn all the things by yourself. If you are not able to learn things by yourself, then it's a good time for you to start learning how to learn by yourself. So this is a good timing. So at this moment, what I want to do is basically go into another project number 28. So I give a little bit of help to the projects, to some of the group that basically get the project on the later weeks. Okay, so that they can, of course, they can look at my lecture recording and they can understand those things, but also it's also good for me to explain a little bit as well, so that you can know. So imagine you have a partial differential equation. So partial differential equation is belonging to what model? Saif, you want to try? If what if I have a partial differential equation, then what kind of model that I'm dealing with? You want to try, Saif?
Is it the
Is it
ordinary
the
ODE?
ordinary ODE? No, it's a partial differential equation. Partial meaning that you have several independent variables. So what kind of model will give you a partial differential equation?
The dynamic
Is
models?
the dynamic model? Dynamic, is it lump or distributed model?
Distributed?
Distributed? Yep, distributed model, that's correct, Asai. Because in partial differential equations, you will have a variations with your space, variation of the property with your space. So if you have variations in the properties with space, it may be possible for you to have two different space variables. So it can be x and y, or y and z, right? And it's possible that you also have a transient distributed model, meaning that you have another variations with respect to time. So partial differential equation is something that is complex, but it can, a chemical engineer always have a way to basically simplify the partial differential equation so that they can solve that thing. So in what I give you, it will be using a finite difference method. So finite difference method is, the principle is that you discretize the space, and then if you are dealing with the transient distributed model, meaning that you have a variation with respect to time, you have a variation with respect to the spatial variable. So imagine we are dealing with the simple variables where we only have depending on the concentration is depending on the z on one of them. So this one is given a symbol of this del instead of d. It's because c vary with respect to time and vary with respect to z in this particular example. So we can strategize around these things by discretizing this difference in with respect to z. We discretize this one. So we create a node consisting of I from 1 to n. Okay, so that we can convert this del c over del z at I is equal to this u minus ci minus 1 divided by h. Okay, so this, if you want to discretize the del c over del t, then this is what you need to do. And then if you want to discretize this, so as you can see in here that they are missing something. So they are missing u in here in the left hand side. So it's always very important for you to check the textbook whether it's correct or not. So you don't trust the textbook, right? So this has to be either this one you need to remove or you need to add u in here. Okay, so the correct one is the one on the right hand side. So basically you convert this one into something with the finite difference. In here we assume that we are using equal increment. So imagine that you have a mesh, then you divide those equally into a different nodes. Okay, so we go into the method of lines. Okay, let me go into the method of lines. Here. So this one is the solution using the method of lines. If the spatial domain is finite, then the discretization in the space you can use it, and then if we have a particular differential partial differential equations, this PDE is 4.28. So if I go to 4.28, let me remember this one is 132. Okay, 132. So 4.28 is what equations in here. 4.28 is this equations in here. Okay, this can be converted into what we put in this 138. Okay, 132, sorry. This one can be converted into this particular equations in here, right? So in here, basically what we did is a finite difference method. Okay, and then there are many types of the finite difference method. You can use a central difference approximation. Central difference approximations meaning that you use the one on the node I plus 1 minus I minus 1 divided by the difference between I plus 1 minus I minus 1. So that will be 2 step size. Okay, and then another one is also a backward difference method. Okay, then I will just go into the details of the example that I will discuss today. So that one will be on the page 159. Okay, let me go down into the page of 159. This one is 159. Okay, so in the case that we want to discuss today, we are going to talk about the non-isothermal plug flow reactor. Okay, so the model of the PFR is given by the equation 4.30, and it will be shown again below. The PDE can be converted into a set of the ODE using mol. Mol in here is method of lines. And this one is a hyperbolic PDE. So the convective term was approximated using upwind differencing. So what you mean by the upwind differences is you have to go into the page 137 in here. So if I go into page 137 in here, okay, page 137 in here, it will be explaining what is the upwind difference in space. So the upwind difference in space is referring to the backward difference formula for discretizing in space. So the difference is taken at the point of I minus the point before I, so I minus 1. So it's called an upwind difference, and it's also called a backward difference formula. Then at this particular point, then you may ask me why. In one particular case, we have to use a backward difference, and then on the other case, we need to use a central difference. So that's related with the stability for that particular numerical method. So if you if for example the flow is from the left hand side to the right hand side, or the transfer is from the left to the right hand side, what you need to do is normally the backward difference. But let's say if the flow is from the right to the left, and let's say when the velocity is negative, then the backward difference formula become unstable, so that you have to use a forward difference formula. So there is a reason for everything that you need to use, and these things is something that I want you to find itself from the book, okay? And this book is already good enough to show these things. Now I will go back into the page 146. Okay, so that one is page 146. So page 146. This one is basically telling you the discretization method of lines with upwind difference in space. Okay, so this one is basically showing that if you use a backward difference, then you will have a better stability when you couple with this ODE 45. ODE 45 in here is the ODE solver, transient ODE solver toolbox in MATLAB, right? Now I go back again to 157. No, this one is too far away. 157 is this non-isothermal. Okay, so in this case study, is equation 4.30 showing you one equations or the concentration profile that you need to solve. And this one is a partial differential equation. So you have a dependence in T and dependence of Z, right? Another equation that you need to solve is the temperature as well. So the temperature also vary as a function of time and as a function of Z. So this PDE, because you know that plug flow reactor has a shape of a pipe. So if this vary with time, then there will be a variations in terms of the Z directions as well. Okay. So what we have in here is non-isothermal PF, a liquid phase PFR, where we have two PD, a partial differential equation. One is 430 and the other one is 4.86. The reaction rate is given by equation 4.85. If you match the MATLAB code that I will show later on with these equations, with this expression in here, you know that this expression given in here is not correct. So you don't always trust the book as well, because the author may make a mistake as well. This 2 is correct. This 2 is basically, one is giving you the reaction rate constant with respect to time, and then the other one is giving the equilibrium, the reverse, what we call is the reverse rate. Okay, so this model in here, you have to solve simultaneously this and this in here. Okay, so this is two hyperbolic PDEs. What it may seem complex, but then for this particular example, we will deal only with the simplest solution. So we use a Dirichlet boundary condition where all the inlet conditions is specified. Okay, so the initial conditions will be assumed to be the same as the inlet. The parameters given in the example 4.4 itself. So it has been given on the previous discussions before this one. Okay, so in here we will expect that we will have two different variables, CA and T. Okay. So you discretize that thing using the upwind method, and then when we want to express the differential equation, so if this we discretize in terms of the space dimension, this one we discretize in terms of the space dimension, we will be left over with the ODE. We have two ODEs. One ODE is in terms of the CA, the other ODE is in terms of the temperature. Okay, so if we want to solve this thing using the ODE solver toolbox in the MATLAB, then we should make it in the form like this. So where we have n nodes, because imagine that all of this is being broken down into different nodes. So those different nodes representing the different positions in in your plug flow reactor. So there will be n different nodes from 1 to n. As a result, you will have a 2n row for this particular dependent variable that you want to solve. Okay, CA1, T1, CA2, T2, and all until CAN until Tn. Right? So this will be the way that you will express your ordinary differential equations after you discretize the Z into the ODE. Okay, so you have these things in here. So this has to be read in details. Then, when you try to process this thing, these things will not be convenient to do the calculations. So in MATLAB, you have another command you can use to basically change this into this form in here. So in here, we have a row of 2n. In here, we have a row of 2 with the column of n in here. But why, you may ask why we want to go into this in here, because this will be much more convenient for you if you want to extract. So you know that everything in the first row is belonging to the CA. So this will be a concentration at a different position, whereas the one on the second row will be the temperature at different position. Everybody get it with me until this thing? It's a bit technical, but then I have to go slow in here to make people understand in here. So you just raise your hand, or you can just shout out if you think that this is not clear. Okay, so you convert this into this by using a code MATLAB command using a reshape y to n. So y is basically whatever the variables that you are referring to. So for example, in this y will be this one in this particular case, right? And then this 2 in here refers to the number of row. And then this one is the number of the column. So this column will be the one that convert this one into this one in here. Okay? And then likewise, you can reconvert back this one into this one with this particular common in here. So let's say that this one is we define as y bar. Then if we want to convert it back into here again, remember that this one has a row of 2n. Remember what you will ask me why it is 2n, because you have concentration and temperature. So concentration and temperature is 2, but then you have an n node and different positions. So you have 2 times n components in here with one column, right? So that's what you need to do. So in order for you to convert this one into this one, you use this one. If you want to convert this one back into this one, you use this one. Okay, so that's basically what the author wants to tell you with this one, and he is being very nice because he doesn't want to make people get confused with what he did in his code. Then non-isothermal PFR. So this is what we go into the real problem in here. So I will not repeat the one that we have done. So now it's mentioned by the reaction rate is given in equation 4.85. The activation energy E is 60 kilojoule per mole and delta ER is minus 10 kilojoule per mole. And we have to use these two equations in here, right? The heat of reactions is in here, and the fluid density and specific density is rho Cp equal to 800 joule per mole per Kelvin. We want to solve the PFR problem for L equal to 2 meter and U naught in here is the velocity of your liquid on the reactor is 0.4 meter per minute. Then we want to create a reaction rate calculations using an automatic program. So basically what we want to do is we want to automate these expressions in here. Okay, we want to create a functions that will calculate the reaction rate every time we give an input in here. Okay, so this one is a reaction rate calculation is the function reaction rate TC part. Okay, So in here, the output will be R, the input will be T, C, and par. Par in here is a variable. Okay, so par in here is a variable. It's called a modular function. Okay, so that in here, if we put simultaneously in this par several components, so that will basically calculate the R gas K1E, T1, K1, and the ER, and then it will calculate the K and then the KR based on the temperature that you put in here, and likewise it will also based on the input of the C that you put in here, it will also calculate the R. Okay, so basically what you do first is you calculate the K using the T, the input is T, the KR using the input T, and then you will calculate the R based on the value of the K that you get earlier and then the KR that you get earlier, and then it will give you an input and output of the R, right? Up to this moment nobody get lost, right? So the good thing about this par in here is that it serves as a local variables. So every time I mean you change the input, then this par can change. Okay, so this is the one that people did in the higher type of the programming when they use a Fortran or they use something like some series of coding. Then they would prefer something, the variables to be kept locally. Okay, then this will be talking again about the reshape and the how to extract the particular value of the CA and the T from the Y bar. Okay, up to this point, then it's just a different way of doing the same thing that I discussed in here again. Okay, and you can figure these things out yourself earlier. So this will be basically what you say is that if you have this matrix in here, you can extract all the CA component by just extracting the one on the first column, on the first row. So all the CA in here is on the first row, right? And then all the T in here is the one on the last row, right? So this is basically what it shows. Okay, after you reshape, then you can extract the CA and the T easily from this particular representation, right? And then you can also choose to use something like this as well. It doesn't matter. The logic is the same, but the author in this respect is choosing to use this kind of common reshape. Okay, then now he mentioned again that the discretized equation will contain two terms: the discretized convective term and the reaction term. So if we go in here, the one that will be discretized is this term in here. So this is called the convective term. This term in here is a change in the concentration with time. This things in here is called the reaction term, right? So then once we have this reaction rate in here to be defined already, then we just care about the next one is we are caring to basically get the ordinary differential equation expression for the two partial differential equations. So in here, what we did in here is we need to have an input of the time, and then the output is the Y. Y in here is what we give in here. Okay, this is what is expressed by Y in here. It can be this one or it can be this one, this Y. Right? Remember again that the one that you start with the percentage will not be executed. So this one serves as a note for your programming to understand. And then we have another modular functions in it, modular variables that we put in as a part, where we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 variables incorporated within this part in here. So part in here, the first one n is the number of nodes. So in here we choose 100. So imagine that between L equals 0 to 2, because if we have a length of 2, meaning that the inlet will be 0, the outlet will be 2. So we divide the outlet, the difference between the outlet with the inlet with 100. So 2 meter divided by 100, so that will be 0.02 meter. is the increment for each of your nodes, right? Okay, and then H will be your step size. Step size meaning that L is 2 divided by 100 will be 0.02. So that will be how much you go from one node to the other node. So it's like an increment, the difference between each node. And then U in here is the velocity of your liquid. C naught in here is the inlet concentration. The T in here is your inlet temperature. And then this RCP is basically the combinations of the rho multiplied by the CP. This delta H is basically your enthalpy difference, okay? And then when you put in these things in here Y, it's given as in terms of this one. So you need to reshape it into this one. That's why this particular line come out into existence. And then after you do that thing, you reshape, you extract all the components of the CA, and then all the components of the T, okay? And then you create another matrix of DC consisting of the zeros and 1, and then the DT zeros and 1. You may ask me, sir, why do I need to create a matrix of the zeros component with the same length of the CA and the same length of this T? So this particular line in here is basically giving you what we call in the coding initialization. So it's creating a storage creating a storage space for the particular matrix called DC and then the DT. So before we change the components one by one, we are creating the storage space for this one. Everybody clear up to here? Abdul Qadir, do you follow up to here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Good, good. I'm being very slow in here so that I'm trying my best to help everybody in here. Okay, but of course I'm not discussing your problem for you. So you have to basically give me everything on your best. So now let's go into the model equation. So the model equations in here is for I equal to 1 until n. So in here we want to use a loop to generate the convective term and the reaction term for each of these equations in here. Okay, because each of those you will have two ordinary differential equations at each ODE, at each node. So you have node of 1 to 100. So if you have two ODE for each node, meaning that you have 2 times 100, 2 times 100 means 200. So you do it one by one. So you convert this one into an ODE. You convert this one into an ODE. So what you need to do is you discretize this term, and then you calculate using another functions to generate this term. Okay, that's what this things is doing. So it will calculate the reaction rate. So when it does this line in here, what happens in here is that this will pass this input in here into this functions in here. Okay, so these functions in here will give back the output in here. So you first get this R first, then imagine that you start with I equal 1. So when I equal 1, that the CAI minus 1 will be equal to C naught, and then the TI minus 1 will be equal to the T naught. So you need to create something that is specific for your first node. Okay, so if your I equal 1, this will execute this particular term in here for your convective terms, which is the second term in here. Okay, and then that will generate this one and this two in here, right? Then it will go down. If this process this one, then it will not process this one, because only one condition can be correct. If I equal 2, then this will not execute this one, but it will execute this one. You get my meaning. So this one is a logical thing. So logical thing is something that is very important. And then once you get I equal 1, then your DCI will be equal to minus convec C minus R. Your DT1 will be minus convec T plus this one. So this will basically start on each of this loop will be filling up your component in this DC and then DT one by one until it's finished executing. So in this case, if you choose an n equal 100, then your DC will have a components of 100, and then your DT will have a components of 100. Okay, everybody get me up to this point. So once you finish this thing, then you want to get a DC, which is a reshape of this DC DT to multiplied by n1. So if you are quick enough like me and I see the coding, you will know that this basically just converted back this one into this one in here. Because when we want to execute using the ODE 23 or ODE 45, we have to deal with this particular form or expression. So meaning that you have to make it back into these things. But when you process it within your code, the author find it is easier to deal with this one. And what I'm telling you in here, you may not be understand easy. You may not understood it easily. But if you try your best to go and learn the code in here, you will understand that what I say is correct. And then if you play the recording one more time, then you will understand. Okay. So for people like me, sometimes I also took about 2 hours or 3 hours to understand this thing. So it's not something that is very easy. But if I don't teach you these things in the future, when you do your design or you do your modeling, it will not be strong. I will show you later why I said that this will be strong, because I will demonstrate it to you why MATLAB code is very strong. Okay, so now you have two functions. So this functions in here, and then this functions in here, right? This is reaction rate, and then this one is expressing your ODE that has been discretized. So you have basically 200 set of the ordinary differential equations, where each of the ODE corresponds with the reflected the change in the time with respect to a change in concentration with respect to time at that particular position, right? So that's what happened. Now you need to create another driver script. So this driver script is where you will specify the variables that you will define. So the good thing about this modular function in here is that you don't need to specify this part in here. Okay, you also don't need to specify your part in here as well. It becomes a local variables within that particular function. But the main thing that you need to do is you just need to specify these parameters in your driver script. So imagine if you just change it one time in your driver script, then everything will change crossover. So this means that it will simplify your life when you code, basically. So this one is K1, K1, T1, E, DER, DH, RCP, RGAS. Then the model parameter, you put everything in here. Then you put n equal 100. You choose n equal 100 in here. You can always change this to 50, or you can change this one to 20, right? Then this one, model param is equal n. This y naught is your initial gas. This will be the initial concentrations and the temperature in each of the nodes. Okay, so you need initial gas, because in order for you to solve an ODE, you need an initial gas for sure. So in here, you put as an initial gas is matrix of 1. So imagine that you have this in here, all 1, right? Then you convert this one into these things again. So this is basically what it does in here, right? So this one you create once one and but this one is you multiply by the model param Cin. So this one in here you multiply by the inlet concentration, and then the ones on the T you multiply by the T inlet temperature. So that will be your initial gas, and then you convert it back into that particular column vector shape. Then you use an ODE 15S. This is basically a regular syntax that you have in here, right? Don't forget to put in your ODE expression. So this ODE expression is the one that you create in here before, okay? And then you put in This one will be the definitions of the time that you want to solve. So in this particular example, you want to solve from 0 to 10 at an increment of 0.1. So if I ask you, Abdul Kader, how many times, how many times component that we have in here for this one?
It's
from
it will increase 0.1,
will increase
0.1
0.1
each time till it reaches
So-
10.
time till it reaches 10.
So we that means I have 101
Yeah.
time component,
Yeah.
because 10 minus 0 divided by 0.1 will be 100, right? But then I still have 0 again, so I will have 101 components of time. And then I put in the initial guess for the y, which is the y naught, right? Once I get these things in here, my y sol will come out onto something like this. Okay, so this is something that you need to know only after you do. So you need to run the MATLAB codes first in here, then you will get these things in here. So I will have as my T-sol in here, it will be 0 until 101 components, 0 to 10. So that will be 0 until 10. And from here up to here, I will have 101 row of components. And then that will be also coming with the 200 components. Okay. So the CAT and here belongs to the first node. The CAT in here belongs to the second nodes. The CA3 in here belonging to the third nodes. Okay, so if I want to extract the CA at the first position, I will have to extract these particular components in here. Then that will give me the CA at the first position with respect to time. So the CA in here will be at time t equals 0. The CA in here will be at time equals 0.1, and then the CA in here will be at the particular time of t equal to 10. Okay, so this is a very long matrix that if you don't know how to operate with this one, you have to know the logic of your MATLAB code in here. So this is giving you that particular logic in here, right? So in coding, nothing is special. It's just all is just a logic. So you need to understand those things, then you will understand how to do. So let's try and run those codes now, right? So what I give you in here is really really how I would say it's like something that is really deep into the code, so that you can be sure that Dr. Jaka is not Jaka. Jaka does not play with you. I mean, I don't just test you, but I don't really know what I'm doing. So that will give a wrong impression. I don't want it to be like that. So when I want to ask you to do something, and I meant for it, then I have to show you that this is really working, and I show you that it's just a code. It's just a code. It's just nothing really special. So this one is a reaction rate. Then this one is the PFR driver. This one is the PFR adiabatic functions in here, right? So you have all these things is the same that I showed you already. Except this one will run this one. This one will call this one. We'll call the ODE solver in MATLAB and use this function. And these functions in here will call this reaction rate in here. So it's basically something that is really regular for a code. So this is let's just run this one, right? If we just run this one, then it will show in here, right? The result. Okay, so this figure in here is basically showing what? So a conversion versus locations in here. So we need to look at in here. Figure 1. So this one will be a plot of the ZXA. At the end of the row, all components in the row at the end column. So let me open this one again here. So that will be all the rows at the end of the column. So that means we are dealing with this one, this figure 1 in here. Okay, this figure 1 in here is let me check again. Okay, here. So this one is figure 1 is yep. So basically that one will be all ZXA. No, this one is the XA. This extract first. You extract the Y sol at all rows 1, 2 until n. So basically what in here is that you are extracting the CA. Okay, we are extracting the CA from here. You take this particular column, you take this particular column, you take this particular column, and then you take the particular column again. And then the same with the T in here. The T in here is just you are extracting the second column, the fourth column, the sixth column, the eighth column, and so forth again, right? So that you have this CA and then the T. And then from this particular CA, you can find the XA in here, right? And then based on that thing, then you can get the figure 1 that basically plot the Z versus the XA at the, this one is basically at the last column, right? So that one is at the last column. So you go back again in here and check. So this one will be this one. Okay. Sometimes I also cannot digest those things very quickly. So you need to look back again in here, and those that are interested with this one, I can send it, I can share it in the canvas with you to understand these particular things in here. So basically what I have checked last time is that this one in the figure 1 is basically this one, and then the figure 2 will be this one, the figure 3 will be this one. Okay, so what you have in here is figure 1 is the conversion with respect to locations at the steady state. Okay, so what it means by the steady state is when the time is already equal to 10. 10 is the largest time that we use in here. So steady state meaning that the time where it becomes large such that the property does not change again with time. So that's what, this is what it is. Okay, so the next figure in here is the outlet concentration. So that means the concentrations at the last node. The concentration at the last node will be this particular locations in here at the CA is equal n equal 100. I'm sorry for the noise because I have somebody cutting out the grass outside of my house. So this will be this one, okay, as a function of time. Okay, so you can see in here that this is the concentration, and then this is the temperature in here, right? You can see it clearly up to here. And then the figure 4 in here is basically you are plotting the temperature and the concentration. The one that you put in the x-axis is the locations. Each of those different line color in here denoting those at the different position. Okay, so this is basically what you will expect for a different when you have a PDE in here, right? Then if we continue in here again, we know that the author in here wants to show that if you have a questions, for example, why I choose n equal 100. So I can keep on making this n as big as possible, but there will be the point of no return in terms of the investment that you put in, because the more that you put in terms of this n, the result will be better, but the computation time will also increase. So what the author shows in here is that you just want to keep on halving the step size. For example, in here is shown that the result of the n equal to 100 will not be much different with the n equal to 200. So you don't need to go into 200. You just need to go with 100 in here. Okay, that will be the most economical the most economical node number that you can use in here. Okay, so this one is basically show what have been done with the previous with the program. So I have basically tried to explain you the the insider into how this code is basically working. Okay. Up to this point, before I continue, is there any questions that you want to ask me up to this point? Abdul Kader, anything clear up to this point?
Yes, all good for me.
Yes, all good for me.
Anybody else that want to ask anything? Saif, Saif, is
No
it clear,
question.
or is it difficult to understand, or is it clear?
It's a bit difficult, but I'll
It's a
have
bit
to read
difficult,
the
but I'll
video.
have to read the video.
Now don't get worried too much on this one. But if you replay again the code and everything, then you should, as long as you should try to understand, then like I said again, I'm happy to be face to face with you to explain those things again, and then also happy to share these things. So these are the things that you need to understand. So how to see it in the MATLAB code. So you go, once you run this code, it will come out in the workspace in here. So you can open this TSOL in here. Okay, click this TSOL open, then it will show you. So like I told Abdul Kader already, this one, the T is from 0 to 0 0.1, 0 0.2, 0 0.3, 0 0.4, blah, 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 up to 100, right? So like I told you again, I have to check everything. So this one is 10. So this will be the time that it will be solved in here, right? And then, how did I know this one in here? You will ask me that question, sir, how do you know this one in here? It's nothing special. I'm just opening this one in here. You know, I click this one, then I just open this one. Then this one will have, like I told you again, this one will have 101 or whatever I put in here, 101 components in the column. And then if I drag it in here, okay, if I drag it in here, this will have 200 components in here. Right? This will take a bit of longer to go, but then I just drag it up again. Let me just drag it up again in here. Then I'll just go manually in here to go to 200. Right? I go to 200 in here. You can see that this is what it is, what I show you in here. Right? So this is the evidence. What I get from here is like 200, then this will be 101 components in here. So coding is just a logic. It's nothing to do with something being mystery inside. Now, why I want you to study MATLAB is because I think that MATLAB is something that you need to deal with if you have something. For example, if you need a more flexible environment where a highly specialized problems need to be solved, then you cannot solve that thing using an Aspen HySys, and you cannot solve it using Aspen Plus. Then you need to go into the manual things and make your own code using MATLAB. So MATLAB here gives you that particular opportunity. Okay, so if in case you don't have, you need to solve a different types. You need the solutions for different types of problems, where one software package cannot provide a complete solution. So that will be MATLAB for you to go. So I have given you everything, basically what I showed you from this particular example. Fortunately, I don't put project number 28 for you, because if I give you project 28, then some of you may get a perfect score, right? That's what I want you to show. But this one is just a task one that I show you. So I want you to. Next, I will go into the next problem. So let me open the MATLAB code first. Let me close this one. Let me close this one. Let me close this one. And then I want to clear up those things. Clear VLC. The figures as well. So I call everything. I close. I close. I close. I close. I close. I close. Okay. Then I want to go into my MATLAB files, project number 45, which I will not, probably next semester I will not give this one because I explained these things to you already by now. So I will not give it to your senior. Okay. So this one is the liquid level dynamics and control. So like I told you again, the equations that we have in here is just something that is simple. We just want to deal with the dynamics of the dynamics problem of the liquid level controller. So you know that if you have a simple tank, that you have an input and an output, the input will be a Q, the output will be Q naught. So if you assume that the rho does not change with time, and then you assume that the A does not change, then you will have these things in here, right? These things in here, you can express it in terms of the ODE, okay? And then if you have a steady state problem, Abdul Qadir, if I want to recover this value in here, what will be the assumption that I need to make in order for me to reduce this one into this one?
That the dh over dt is zero.
dh over dt is 0.
Okay, correct. That is correct. If you do that thing, then your HS will be equal to this one. Okay. And then, like I told you again, in the process control, if you want to simplify your life, you can always linearize your ordinary differential equations so that you get this h in terms of the proportional. So this will be in terms of the h only. And in here it's nonlinear because you have this root square of h, okay, expressed in terms of this ODE. So if you do that thing, you do the Taylor expansion, then you will recover this form in here, right? So the equation that is shown in here is giving you your ODE, and this one is your something I will say is a rigorous ODE. This one is something that I will call a simplification. So this is a linear ODE, right? In process control, if you want to get your life easier, you will do this one here. Well, it's not always simple, but later I will show you another example that will give you an idea of how you do a process control in the real situations, right? This one is this two is just the dynamic model. One is the real dynamic model, the other one is the simplified dynamic model. And then if we want to apply a simple process control, we want to put in what we call the proportional controller. But let me ask you, up to this semester, do we have already get a PID or not? A PI, proportional integral derivative. Saif, Abdul Qadir, have you get the integral controller, derivative controller already?
Not yet, I think so.
Not yet, I think so.
Okay, not yet. Huh? So up to this week, where process control goes to? Up to this week.
The transfer functions.
The transfer functions.
Oh,
And the order.
And the order.
Okay. So if you put in those proportional controller into these things, then you have to regulate based on this KC. So this KC actually in the real scenario, it will be linked with your measured variables. So your measured variables should be your H in here. Okay. So basically, what you do in here is you manipulate you manipulate your outlet flow rates to control your liquid level. Right? You agree with me here? Right? You agree with me? Nobody say anything, then you just agree with me, I guess. The functions in here we are solving using the Runge-Kutta method. So this Runge-Kutta method is expressed for this particular problem in terms of the x0, y0, h, and out, I out, p model. So x0 in here is the initial value for x. So in this particular variable, your x in here is your time, y0 in here is your height. So your height in the beginning will be 9, okay? And then this h in here is your step size, okay? That N out in there is your number of the output points. Your I out in here is the frequency of your output to X to Y. So if you want to understand it in terms of the double loop in here. So if you put your I out is to 2 in here, meaning that this will be calculated for 2 times before it is recorded. Okay. If you just put this I out equal 1, meaning that you only run this inside loop, the inner loop only 1 time. Okay. Whereas this N out in here will be giving you the number of the output points. And then your P in here is your vector of the problem parameters. Your model in here is just the string to select the correct function. So in your next functions in here, you have a glimpse into what is this P in here. So P in here is a vector. Input consists of the 6 components in here, where your P1 is your area, your P2 number 2 is your K, your P number 3 is your Q. Q in here is the inlet flow rate, right? And then your HS in here is your steady state height. Your QS in here is your steady state inlet flow rate. And then your K in here is basically your KC in your process control problem in here. And then if you have 3 different types of the model. The first one is the linear, the second one is the non-linear, the third one is the control problem. So you go back again here. This one is your first ODE. This one is your second ODE. This one is your third ODE. Okay. So this one is what you need to solve to integrate your problem. This one is your ODE, right? So we cannot solve these things using only these 2 problems, and unfortunately the authors only give me these 2 things, meaning that in order for me to solve this problem, I have to make my own driver script, which I have to do in this one. So that's what I did in here. So I make my own script of this driver in order for me to utilize this problem and this problem. So I don't know why the author wants to do these things, but he just wants to make sure that whoever has got this code and this code will try their best to understand the problem, so that they will be able to do this, to produce the figure he showed in here and then the figure he showed in here, which is what I did in here. Right, so in the beginning I put a clear, I put a CLC, and then I just want to use a step size of 0.1, and then the number of the output I want to use 30 to make my figure smooth, right? And then the frequency to output, I just want to utilize a single inner loop in here. So I don't want to do 2 loops before I get it recorded. So I just want to do a single loop in here. Okay. So then I go back again to here. Then this one is the P factor, but in here I want to basically specify this one. So 1 in here is the first, is the A. Okay, so this one will be the A, and then this 20 in here is the K. 54 in here is the inlet flow rate. So why I set this one is equal to 54? Because in the beginning everything was set equal to 60. So for a process control problem, what is the big idea of the process control? Let's say I would ask Gladys, do you know why we do process control, Gladys, for example? Why we do a process control? Any idea, Gladys? You want to guess? Gladys, are you there? So in this particular problem, what kind of process control type of problem that we want to deal with, for example? And everybody can still hear my sound, right, in here? I'm just trying to engage everybody in here. Saif, are you still there?
Yes, sir.
Saif, In this particular case, we want to maintain the liquid level at that particular level. So the process control in here, meaning that if we introduce a disturbance to that to particular variables in our system. So in this particular example, the disturbance will be the feed flow rate. So in the beginning, this is 60. So if we change this 60 to a value lower than than 60, so we change it, let's say we drop it by 10%. So if we drop by 10% in here, what will be the value, Saif, for this one, if we drop it by 10%?
Is it gonna be 54?
Yes, because the 10% will be 60, will be 6. So 60 minus 6 will be 54, right? So if I drop it to by 85%, then what will be the Q in here? Let's say Sarina, what will be the value of the Q if I drop it by, if I have 85% in here in the inlet flow rate? Sarina. It's okay, I can wait, no problem. You take your time. So if I have 85%, then what will be my inlet flow rate? Sarina, you are there, right? Hello. Are you there, Sarina? Hello? Or who is there in there? How about Tiara? Tiara, what happened if I have 85% drop in the inlet flow rate? What will be my Q? Hello? Chang Ying. So that will be, what did I put in here? Huh? That will be 9. Correct. It will be 9, Chang Ying. That is correct. Correct. So that the process control is basically working in that way. So you want to stabilize your system, so the system is assumed to be at a steady state. You want to design a robust control system where you basically make sure that no matter what the disturbance in the parameter, what are the possible disturbances, then your process will not go into a haywire status. So meaning that the process will not go into something that is dangerous. So if you're dealing with the reaction, it will not go into a very high pressure that may blow up your reactor. And in terms of the liquid level control, you want to make sure that your liquid tank will not be empty. So that's the major aim of the process control, right? So in here, if we are dealing with the first one, is basically dealing with the 10% drop. So I'm using 54 in here. Then I input this one into this one. Okay, I use, in the beginning we have 9, so that will be the initial value. So at the initial condition, that will be 9, and then I put this C, D, E, F in here. Then I choose linear and non-linear. Then I also define another matrix again. So this one is basically dealing with the 85% drop in the flow rate. Then I run it again. So my output will be BH, B2, H2 in here, and then my T will be AG, A2, G2. Okay. Then I want to create another solutions where basically this time I vary the KC. The KC is the proportional controller of your P controller. Okay, here I just want to use a different value for this one, so that's what I'm doing it. I'm putting it a three inlet in here, and then MN, MN2, and MN3, figure 1, figure 2, and then I put in everything in here. Then I run this one. Okay. Once I run this one, I will get that particular curve, the same like what I show you in the book. Okay, so what is it in here that you can see in here? That if we use the correct one should be the nonlinear one. So if we have a decrease of the 10 after 2 minutes, then what I have is about 7.3 in here. If I use linear, because the disturbance is not much far away, so it will still be the same. Okay, they start deviating at these particular points in here, right? Now, if I decrease by 85%, the difference becomes so obvious in here. Nonlinear one will be going to non-negative value of 0. Something like 0.2 in here, whereas the linear one, it will reach negative value in here. So this linear one is not reflective of the real system. This is what I want you to tell me in your MATLAB model, in your MATLAB project. Why? This is what I call applicability. So in this case, the linear model is not applicable in the real scenario when the disturbance becomes much higher than where the steady state occur. So if the disturbance effect becomes very, very high, then the steady state value, then we will have a problem because the model will deviate much higher than the real conditions in here. And even so, the liquid will still not be dry after 2 minutes in here. Correct? So this is what I want you to, the discussion is this is what I wanted to tell you. So in your MATLAB project 1, you have to tell me the applicability and the limitations of your model in this kind of context, right? And then the figure 2 in here. The figure 2 in here is basically telling me how I solve this problem using the P controller. So if the KC is what did I put in here? Again, box of decrease. So this one is the going from the low to the top one. Okay, this one is the KC 10, 20, and the 31 again. So the higher the KC, the more the height will be retained. The more the initial height will be retained before the disturbance is applied. So this basically shows that the higher KC is has the effect of the higher KC, but it does not necessarily mean that your KC is good. The higher KC is good. It really varies depending on the conditions that you have, right? Up to this point, any questions that you want to ask to me, or anything that has not been clear so far for this one? So that's basically this driver. You can create it yourself as long as you understand what is the input and the output, right? Okay, now I will show you the last example of the process control that I get from the book of Luyben. The book of the Luyben. He is one of the famous guy in the area of the process control. So this one does not form anything that I give you in your project at all, because this one is something that is a bit more tough to do. Okay, but I want to discuss these things with you so that you know in the real situations how you do the process control, right? Let's go into this example. Control of the CSTR systems, right? So imagine you have everybody can still hear me, right? Abdul Kader, I still clearly? You still
Yes,
with me?
sir.
So
Yes,
far?
sir. Yep.
Okay, good. Imagine you have a CSTR with A becoming B, first order irreversible reaction. Then you make a nonlinear dynamic model. You will ask Jaka, why I bother to study all these difficult models, sir. I think these things is nonsense. So I want to tell you that all of this is not nonsense, because in the real control and in the real situations when you become a process engineer in the future, you will have to go into your model again. So because Aspen Plus, Aspen HYSYS is all based on the model. Okay, so you will know the behavior of your system from your model. So you will have the total mass balance like this, the component mass balance, the reactor energy balance like this, and in here we are assuming that we have a reactor and the jacket, which consists of the 4 nonlinear ordinary differential equations in here, right? In here we are given the overall heat transfer coefficients for the jacket, okay? Then the dynamic model of the jacket will be this one in here, right? If we make our life simple by assuming that the flow rate in is equal to the flow rate out, then we can equalize F not equal to F. Then we have the 3 differential equations in here, right? We have these 3 differential equations. So let's say for this particular systems, if you want to basically control the temperature of the reactor, okay? So that will be your control variable, okay? And then you want to control it using the flow rate of the coolant that goes through your jacket, okay? And then you want to, at a particular time, you assume that all this will be at a steady state. So you're working on the steady state. In the steady state, meaning that if I give you all the parameters that is available on these equations, I can equalize this side will be equal to 0, 0, 0, right? Then I will be able to figure out the value of the CA. I would be able to figure out the value of the TR. I would be able to figure out the value of the TJ, because this will no longer become a transient ODE, but this will become a algebraic equations. You agree with me up to this point? Okay. So I run this program in here, okay, where this particular program in here is basically just a simple MATLAB program, okay, with all these things is given, and then we size the steady state calculation first, and then in here we are using a controller, proportional controller, and we have a KC, and then we have this tau I. Tau I in here is also coming out later when you do your integral controller. So why you ask me why I want to use an integral controller? Because you want to remove that offset. You see when you go into these things in here, you have an offset. An offset in here is initially you start with 9, but after you use a proportional controller, you have the offset. So your steady state does not come back into the initial steady state. So that's what I call an offset. So if you want to remove that offset, you have to use a controller, I controller, integral controller part of that thing. So we put in these things in here. We put in the initial conditions and the parameters in here, and then we set into the program, we set that we put a disturbance. So at any particular time higher than 1200, then this F will be equal to F nu. This F nu in here we set in here, okay? You need to look in here. This F nu is, we set that if the inlet flow rate is reduced by 20%, that is our disturbance. So we set that at time t equal higher than 1:200, then F is equal to F nu. And then these things in here is basically just a recorded matrix of everything before in the steady state and after the disturbance again. And then this one is basically just a derivative evaluation. So this derivative equation is just basically show you these equations in here, right? The DCA, the TR, and the TTG in here, correct? And then we put in the 2 time lag into the system. So have Dr. Mahmoud go and talk to you about the time lag into your system. Abdul Qadir, have you start mentioning about the time lag, the delay in time?
In the dead time, you mean?
The dead time, you mean?
Yeah, the dead time. What is the dead time? Can you tell us a bit in here? I just want to match whether this is the same thing that I put in here. What is the dead time?
It's the time that
It's the
takes
time that
the
takes
delay.
the delay.
Yeah, because in the control system, you have something what you call is measurement. So in measurement, you will not have that particular instant value for your control variables. So what you have is essentially the measured variable. So in that case, you need to put in your time lag. So this time lag in here is put in here. It's added as a TR lag 2, TR lag 1, and TR lag 2. So we give about 60 seconds of the time for each of the for the two different for the measurement. Okay, so the temperature in here will have about 120 seconds lag. So it's only about 2 minutes that you can really have the time. So this will basically affect the response of your system, right? And then this one is interested in up. You want to basically cap your OP, your response of your controller into between 1 and 0. Okay, that cannot be higher than this one, right? Then this one is basically showing the error coming from the integral controller. So if I run this one in here, I will have 4 different plots in here, right? So this one in here is basically showing that my reactor temperature with respect to time. Okay. This one in here is showing my flow rate of the coolant into the jacket with time. This one will show me the temperature of the jacket with respect to time. This one is showing the concentrations of the A with respect to time. So what can be said about these things in here? You see the flat line between here to here. So from 0 up to about 1,200 seconds. So 1,200 seconds will be about 20 minutes. So everything was steady before the disturbance was applied, right? As soon as the disturbance is applied, then the control systems will do his best to stabilize the systems in here. So it will have a basically will have a, how to say these things. This is fluctuations in the temperature of the reactor before it goes back to this one. Okay, so in here we are applying only about 0.8. So what can I do is I can change this one to about, if I want to change it to about 0.7. I want to know whether my systems is robust enough if I go to if I reduce it even further to 0.7, then I run it again here. Okay, I run it again. Then this shows that is still working. Okay, except this time we probably will have something that is going down even lower for this one again in here and in here again. Okay, and with this kind of modeling simulations, we will be able to play around with this process control to figure out what is the effect of the KC, what is the effect of the tau E, and then what is the effect of the disturbance in terms of the feed flow rate. So if I change this one to 2 point to let's say 3, okay, let's say 3, I put it safe. Then does it change into the effect of the control systems in here or not? So it's still okay. It's still stable. But then if I change it again, there may be a time where this may blow down the stability of the system. So if I change it to 6, for example, let's just try. So this we don't know. This will have to go back into your theory again, into the process control to find out which one is stable and which one. Abdul Qadir, what do you call this one in here in terms of the process control?
Sir, I didn't finish the videos yet.
Huh? What?
I didn't finish watching the videos.
This one is what you call as an unstable system. So this is an oscillating system. So as a chemical engineer, you will have a problem if you if you don't set up your controller correctly, because you will have this oscillating system. The plan that you design in the future, that will damage. You will have a problem with this one. So you have to have a correct tuning of your controller. Okay, so Now, so far, have I been clear in everything that I tell you, everything I have given you? So I think a quite thorough understanding into your into your into your into why sir you I think why Jaka you are being so serious about this MATLAB code? Why? Because one day some of you have to go to the plant and then you have to design these things, and some of you may go into the consultancy and deal with these things. So if you have a MATLAB at your hand, it's really powerful. Of course, doing these things will not be easy. I mean, I just know the logic behind these things, but if needed, then I can understand how to these things, and then if I can fit this MATLAB code and then put it into the process control, into a distillation column, or into the whatever other problems that you think is this looks serious, this process control, and but it's only applied to a simple problem of the CSTR. It's not going into the real system, but in the real situation you may have to go and make your own MATLAB problem to solve these things again. So as you can see in here that the K, the control setting has a particular limit where it will be stable and unstable. So in that particular project, I want you to think about this limit, how you basically think about this limit, make it this controller in this particular problem, the controller will not be stable if you blow it up to 6. So I can only go up to about 3 or 4, and that will be the only range where the control constant will be able to handle my system. Okay, I've been talking for about 1 hour and 40 minutes. So next week I will not be talking like this much again. So I'm suggesting you I will open up a consultation session for each of the group next week, and they can ask me anything that they want to ask, but then I will not give you much more materials on this one, because that will create more burden to you. Okay. Now I just want to check out with you guys if everything is clear or not. So Tiara, are you there? Did you get everything clear up to this moment? Is everything comes clear to you? Hello? Hello? Tiara, you still there with me? Sarina, you still there with me? Is it everything clear with you up to this one? Gladys, everything clear up to this moment? Any questions? Gladys, are you there? Not at all. Okay. Stephanie, are you there? Is everything clear? Any questions? No questions for me, or is there any questions for me? Come on. Chandipa, how are you doing? How are you doing, Chandipa? Or clear for you? Anything to ask me? Saif, how is it? Are you getting lost? Everything good?
It's not the most
It's not
clearest,
the most
but
clearest,
usually watch the videos.
usually watch the videos. But
Well, Saif, I also cannot elaborate all these things in in 1 hour. You have to sit with me in my office for 3 hours
Right.
for me to
Yeah.
right. Yeah. But I'm happy. I mean, I'm always my door is always open to anybody that wants to do serious things on these things with me. Okay, I'm always open. The door is always open for you guys. In case you want to do something serious like this with me, then I'm happy to help you. How about Chang Ying? Anything clear? Everything is clear, Chang Ying? Are you there, Chang Ying? Okay, fair enough, Chang Ying. Kusao, are you with me? Or you need to make it, is everything clear with you? Any questions? Okay, Abdul Qadir, the point is not to make you afraid, but or any other students to make you afraid. No, it's not. It's not meant to be like that. It's meant that I need to show you the power of MATLAB, okay? So that every single of you is know what MATLAB can do. Even if I want to go into something serious with MATLAB, I will go into MATLAB. I can easily show you another 10 programs and something that is much more difficult than this one that I'm doing now for my research. The point is that MATLAB is strong, okay? And it's never disadvantage to try to understand. If the point is that it's never wrong to, it's never disadvantage for you to have to go into MATLAB and try to understand it as much as possible. Okay, so I don't necessarily have to go to Simulink like what Dr. Mahmud will do, but I can just do it. I can record it using MATLAB. As long as the logic is there, you know what you want to do, then MATLAB will be able to help you on that thing. Okay. So next week I will expect to see you on if you have any questions on your group, on your particular group time. So for now, I think I will stop talking. Okay. And again, I feel that everybody has been very passive. So I know that probably the isolation has made you quite passive, but please don't think that you are alone. You are always, we are always here with you. And me, I'm always happy to help you. You just contact me, and then we set up a sessions to discuss things with you. Okay. Then that will conclude these sessions for today. I will make the video session available, and then I hope you have a little bit of slowdown for next week and a time to think and also time to work as well with your group mate. I'm always happy to have a talk with any of you. Like I told you again, if you are in campus, then you can set up a time to meet me at A401. Or if you are not in campus, then we can always set up a time to meet with you in the Teams. Okay. Thank you so much for coming, everybody. Okay. Nice to meet
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. See you again soon.